But there's another option instead of deconversion, and that's recognizing that there are other faithful ways to be a follower of Jesus than the Christian tradition inherited from one's family. Young Christians begin looking for these other faithful ways when they realize the faith tradition they received as pure, unadulterated Christianity is actually an interpretation of what the Bible teaches, but not necessarily the only or even best one available. We think this realization is largely correct and even helpful. For a struggling believer, recognizing that there are other ways Christians throughout history have understood what faithfulness to Jesus looks like can help them pause the deconversion process. It can give them hope there's a home for them in the Church Universal, even if they no longer feel at home in their particular church community or tradition. This realization gives young Christians permission to rethink what an alternative expression of Christian faith might look like. In other words, it gives them the permission to deconstruct their faith. Contrary to the way the word sounds, deconstruction in its contemporary usage is not necessarily destruction. In its common usage, the term refers to the process by which something is disassembled, analyzed, and often reassembled in a new way. Its purpose isn't necessarily to burn everything to the ground. Instead, its goal can be to rebuild a structure that's sturdier and more sensible than the previous one. Deconstructing Christians aren't necessarily skeptics. Often, they're seekers. They're not by definition dismissive of what the Bible teaches. On the contrary, for many, their commitment to taking the Bible seriously is what led to their sense of disillusionment with Christianity. Molly and tens of thousands of young Christians just like her are deconstructing their faith. They're asking if there are other ways to be authentically Christian than what they've experienced, and there are no signs of it stopping anytime soon. We can relate to Molly because we've both gone through the same painful process of rethinking what we believe.
Sean's story. I remember the day my faith deconstruction began. It was in 1995, and I was a college student surfing the internet for the first time. I came across an atheist website dedicated to challenging the Christian claims about God, the Bible, and the historical Jesus. To say I was unsettled is to put it mildly. Really smart people were challenging the ideas I was raised with. For the first time, I wondered if the Christian faith was true. Can I really trust the Bible as both accurate and inspired? What if Jesus didn't rise from the dead? Is evolution a better explanation than creation? These questions troubled both my mind and my heart. Before this period in my life, my faith was something I took for granted. I have fond memories of attending Christian conferences, going on mission trips, and listening to my father as he taught the Bible. My parents raised me in the Christian faith. I can't remember ever not believing the Christian story about the world. Even though I certainly fell short of living it at times, the Christian faith made sense. Yet when I was a college student, the answers I had based my faith on were no longer enough. Nagging doubts about my faith simply wouldn't go away. I remember staying up late at night reading the Psalms of David as he wondered why God seemed absent in his time of need. Things no longer seemed black and white. Things were no longer simple. As I wrestled with the big questions of life and wondered whether I could continue as a faithful follower of Jesus, I realized there was one person I needed to be honest with: my father. To understand how difficult this was for me, it's necessary to understand my dad's story as well. To put it simply, my dad, Josh McDowell, has been one of the most influential Christian leaders over the past half-century. He has spoken to millions of young people and has sold tens of millions of books. He is probably best known for his books Evidence That Demands a Verdict and More Than a Carpenter, in which he documents the historical evidence that persuaded him to seriously consider